Okay, hey guys, today we'll be quickly going over some surds that Ava had for me. Um, so we've covered surds in class, and I'm just going to quickly brush over this because I'm sure you know how to solve these. I'm going to leave this one to second last and this one to last because I know these questions are pretty hard and you've done the rest. So it's a very easy concept. That's why I'm going to leave them last. But it's called a reciprocal. So we multiply by its reciprocal, or rather its negative reciprocal. Firstly, we'll do the other one, this one. So yellow ones were hard. Okay, and it wants us to write it in the form of k square root x where both are integers. Okay, integers is just a number that doesn't have decimal points and stuff like that. Okay, so we have the question square root 75 minus square root 27, and this kind of question is basically saying you want it as under 1/3, and this 1/3 is square root x has to be what? It has to be the same, right? And you'll see why. So let's break this up really quickly. This would be square root 3 times, what can it be? Square root 25, right? Minus square root 3 times square root 9. Okay, immediately we have one thing that's popping out, right? These are the same surds. And apparently these are what? They're square numbers, right? So we can actually write them as square root 3 times 5 minus square root 3 times 3, right? So we'll rewrite that into 5 square root 3 minus 3 square root 3, okay? Now you can approach it in two ways. Really, you can just say, okay, 5 cookies minus 3 cookies. We'll say square root 3 is a cookie. It will just be 2 cookies, right? Or you can say this, factorize square root 3. So you divide both this and this by square root 3, and you would just get 5 minus 3, right? Which would be square root 3 times 2, and we can just write it in this form, which is 2 square root 3. Lovely. That first bit is done. Now let's quickly go over this then, okay? What does this look like? So we have 5 minus square root 3 and 2 plus square root 3. 5 minus square root 3 over 2 plus square root 3. Let me just double check if that is right. Yep. Okay. And let's see what we can do. So I said multiply by the negative reciprocal. So if we have 1 over a, its reciprocal would be a over 1. Okay, so reciprocal just means flip it. Okay, in this case, when you multiply it by its negative reciprocal, what do you want to do? You want to find what the reciprocal is and multiply only on the bottom number as well, by the way. So for example, I'll say I want to minus times it by 2 minus square root 3 over 2 minus square root 3, because this is effectively what? It's equal to 1, right? A number over itself is 1, so it doesn't really change everything overall, does it? But this allows us to change the form, okay? So we want to multiply them, okay? And can you see how we got 2 square root 3? It's from here, right? We just want to get the negative and the positive, right? So, and you'll see why we do this, okay? So we'll get 5 minus square root 3 times 2 minus square root 3, right? And we'll get 2 times 2 plus square root 3, 2 minus square root 3, okay? And we'll simplify this. So same FOIL. I know you guys have done this, right? So basic quadratics here. We'd get 5 times 2 is 10. 5 times negative 3 is 5 square root 3. Square root 3 times 2 is negative 2 square root 3. And square root 3 times square root 3 is positive 3, because negative and negative make a positive, right? And also square root times square root makes it a full number. Now do the bottom. So it'll be 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times square root 3 is negative 2 square root 3. 2 square root 3 is plus 2 square root 3. And then square root 3 times square root 3 is negative 3. Okay, because there's a negative and a positive, and square root times square root eliminates it, right? And you'll see here, what do we have here? It's negative 2 cookies plus 2 cookies, right? Or negative 2 square root 3 plus 2 square root 3. And you can see how they cancel out. Now your thing would work fully. And you'll see that it would become 10 and 3 make 13. Negative 5 and negative 2 make negative 7 square root 3. And the bottom will be remaining with 4 and negative 3. 4 minus 3 is what? 1. Or we can just not write it, and it would be 13 minus 7 square root 3. Is that what it wants? It wants us to write it in this form. So 13 minus 7 square root 3. Lovely, we have solved this question. Now the last question is the same thing, okay? Exact same thing. Now I want you to do it yourself first. Okay, pause the video, pause, and do it yourself. And I'm going to do it in 3 seconds. Okay, so same concept, we multiply it by its negative reciprocal. And square root 3 minus 1 times by square root 3 plus 1 over square root 3 plus 1. Okay, and what do we get? We get 5 square root 3 plus 5 minus 2 times square root 3, so minus 6, because and I'll do that in a bit. 2 square root 3 over square root 3 times square root 3 is 3. Square root 3 plus 1 is plus square root 3. Negative 1 times square root 3 is negative square root 3, and negative 1 times 1 is minus 1. And how did I get 6 here? I think I was going to go over. It would be negative 2 square root 3 times square root 3, which would become negative 2 times 3, which is negative 6. Okay, so that's what I was going over how I got here. And now we simplify it again. So we group like terms. 5 and negative 6 make negative 1. 5 and negative 2 make plus 3 square root 3. And down here we have these cancelled out, right? And we have 3 and negative 1, which would make 2. Okay? Bam! Now we've simplified it. We can even simplify this even more by saying it is negative 1 over 2 plus 3 over 2 times square root 3. Okay, lovely. Thank you, and let me know if you have any problems. Good job, guys.